Hi, everyone. Welcome. We are so glad you're here. We're excited to bring you another Blue Circle Health cooking class. We sure hope that you enjoy it. We're going to do some quick introductions and housekeeping, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So, Rita, will you please introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming to the cooking class. My name's Rita Rubin. I'm a registered dietitian and diabetes educator here at Blue Circle Health. And over my years, I've worked with people with type 1 diabetes for about 28 years and taught lots and lots of cooking classes during that time, which I love to do. So thank you for being here. Welcome.
Thank you, Rita. And my name is Scott Johnson. I'm a senior manager of community here at Blue Circle Health. I've lived with type 1 diabetes for 45 years, and I just really appreciate you allowing me the honor and privilege of hosting today. In terms of an agenda, we've got some simple salads and summer greens that Rita will guide us through. Today, we're preparing a Mediterranean potato salad with green beans and olives, and then a summer couscous salad. I will share the recipe files in the chat and then also, of course, include them in the email that goes out with the recording. So, before we get going too far, I do need to cover some quick housekeeping items. We build these classes and webinars specifically for people living with type 1 diabetes, but we also recognize that there may be caregivers and healthcare professionals joining too, and we certainly welcome you, and we're very glad that you're here with us. We welcome and encourage you to use the chat feature along the way. I'll keep an eye on it throughout the session if you need anything or have any questions along the way. The session is being recorded. Participation in this event is completely voluntary and may reveal your identity and any identifying information that you share with other group participants. For example, comments in the chat or during discussions. We're not providing medical advice, individual or otherwise, and we may need to refer you back to your healthcare team for detailed and individualized answers. And then finally, for anyone who's not familiar with Blue Circle Health, stick around to the end where I'll share a brief overview and answer any questions. Okay, I know that was a lot. Thank you for your patience with me. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to take myself off the screen and get Rita and her cooking camera front and center and go. So, Rita, over to you.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Yeah, let's just jump right in. Two easy summer salads is what we're making today. And a lot of the ingredients are similar in both. So, and interchangeable. So just like all of the recipes that we've posted so far, they're designed to be economical and versatile. So if there are some ingredients that you don't care for, you can leave those out. You can add other things. Yeah, make it your own. So we'll start with the couscous salad and a question. How many of you have ever had couscous or cooked with it? Either, found it at a restaurant and tried it or tried it at home. And it's not something that I have ever come across, going to dinner at somebody's house or anything like that. My first time trying it was at a restaurant. And I just love it. So yeah, let us know if you've ever tried it and in what way you tried it. Was it something that you made or you tried it out? And looks like a green. So this is couscous. And this is just one kind. It happens to have a variety of colors. This doesn't always have colors. Looks like a green, but it's actually pasta. That's all it is. Just a fun little pasta shape. And it comes in different sizes. So this is kind of the medium size, which is sometimes called Mediterranean style or Mediterranean couscous. There's also a larger couscous that is called Israeli couscous. It's a bigger purple. And then there's a smaller, a finer couscous as well. It's all pasta. And we're going to cook this first. And I've actually already cooked some and chilled it because I wanted it to be cold. But let me just show you the stuffs. And so usually you'll see in a recipe to toast the couscous first. And the reason is it adds a layer of flavor because your pasta is just kind of neutral flavored. So it adds a layer of flavor. And I've noticed that with toasting the couscous in a little olive oil, you get this this layer of oil on the couscous. So after you rinse it, it's cooked, you rinse it, you stick it in the fridge to chill it, it stays separated really nicely. It doesn't clump together. So I recommend the toasting. It only takes a minute or so, but you don't want to walk away and leave it in the pot all by itself because it could burn. So I'm just going to put this in my pot and just turn out my heat a little bit. And I like to add layers of flavor when I cook. So I'm going to toss in a little bit of salt on top of my couscous and a little black pepper. And if I had some, I ran out, I might throw a bay leaf in there because I'm going to cook it like pasta. So you can always, like, whenever you're cooking pasta or grains or something like that in a volume of water, you can always throw stuff in there to flavor the water, and that will flavor the whatever it is you're cooking. So it is starting to sizzle. And I'll show you. Looks like there we go. And just gonna toast it a little bit until it's just slightly brown, and I'm just gonna keep an eye on it for a sec here. While we talk more a little about couscous, so I wondered, is anybody tried it? I don't know if we got any response.
When you talk about
Yeah.
toasting it, you're just putting it in the pan on some heat and just
Yep. Yep.
interesting.
Little bit of olive oil, putting it on the pan in some heat. That's
That's fascinating to me. A couple of comments coming in that people enjoy it, tried it at a friend's house and also at a restaurant. A little bit of concern about the amount of carbohydrates that can be in it. And I'm already learning so much, as I always do, because I don't know why, but I always thought of couscous as a grain, like you mentioned. So
no.
it fits the concern about carbs and realizing it's a pasta that makes a lot of sense. So
Absolutely. And yeah, technically is a grain. It's wheat. But it's wheat it's semolina wheat ground into flour and then made into pasta. And yes, definitely has carbs. And that's a wonderful, wonderful comment. And we're going to talk about that because there's something cool about eating starches when they're cold that is beneficial to your blood sugars. So, and also your body, your digestive tract. So, but yes, this definitely has carbohydrates. So this is a pasta dish, but what you'll see soon is the couscous is not really the main ingredient. It is in the ingredient, but there's a lot of other stuff in there. So one of the tricks is if you're trying to reduce the carbs in the meal and you want to have some pasta, put a lot of other stuff in with the pasta and make less pasta. So throw in vegetables, proteins, things like that, and make more of the volume in the dish come from those foods. And then you can make the actual pasta portion smaller. You can still enjoy the pasta and just have a little bit less carbohydrate if that's what you're shooting for. So there's my couscous. And I know you probably can't see real well, but it is toasty brown. So that's it. So what I would do now is pour in the water, bring it to a boil, and then cook this. But I'm not going to do that because I already cooked some couscous. So I'm just going to set my stove top down a little and get it out of the way. And put my couscous up here. And then we'll continue to talk. All right. Give me a little more room to cut and stuff. So what's cool about couscous and cool about eating couscous chilled in a salad is when we cook starches like pasta, grains, potatoes, and we eat them chilled. So we're gonna eat this as a cold salad. What happens is the starch, which I'm just chopping up some cucumber that's gonna go in the salad. The starch, when it cooks, it becomes easier to digest. We can't chew on pasta usually without cooking it. And so the starch becomes a little easier to digest. And that means that it will go through your digestive tract and start entering your bloodstream once it hits your small intestine. So some starches, like white rice, is a pretty fast starch that can start to hit your bloodstream as sugar in about 20 minutes. But some higher fiber starches like brown rice or bulgur, full wheat, or quinoa can take a little bit longer. They might not hit your bloodstream until lower down in your small intestine or even in your large intestine. So it might not be an hour. It might be an hour before those starches start to show up as glucose. And and that means that your insulin that you take for your meals can have time to really get into your bloodstream and can be ready to work once the glucose shows up. So the same thing happens when we chill a cooked starch, is that the starch becomes harder to digest. Not harder per se, it's just slower to digest. And that means it doesn't digest in your small intestine, like the first part of your digestive tract after food leaves your stomach. And it waits until it reaches the lower part of your small intestine or your large intestine to break down. And um, again, it releases into your bloodstream more slowly and a little bit less and more time. So it gives you more time for that insulin. So that can be one of the benefits in eating things like a cold pasta salad or a cold potato salad. And I'm wondering, has anybody noticed that already? Or have you heard? I think I've talked about resistant starch a little bit in other classes, but I'm wondering if you've noticed that effect yourselves.
I have not paid, I think, close enough attention to that, but it sounds like a super cool secret weapon in my nutrition arsenal now.
Definitely, it is a secret weapon. And another thing about resistant starch is that even if you chill it, so maybe I cooked some pasta or some potatoes or something, and I put them in the fridge and I ate them the next day, and I reheated them. Even that is resistant starch still, because the starch when it cools, it crystallizes, it just has a different shape, and it's a little bit slower to digest.
Ah, it's fascinating. I'm so glad that I learned another secret weapon through this. Thank you, Rita.
Right? It's helpful to know those little things. Um, so yeah, try it. And certainly if you're limiting carbs, you might again make the pasta part of the recipe smaller and just more and more veggies. And then it's a less carbohydrate overall. You could also try couscous because it's pasta, it's wheat. Um, it has gluten in it. So anyone who is gluten sensitive or has celiac is not going to eat the pasta. I have not seen a gluten-free couscous out there. I don't know if anybody has. I've looked, but if you have, let me know. Mhm.
We've got some comments about concern about gluten and being gluten free and not and staying away from couscous for just that reason.
Yeah,
Um,
very. Yep, yep. So what I would do is instead of using couscous, I would use quinoa.
ah,
So quinoa goes really well in this recipe. So basically, what we're making is tabbouleh. So if you've ever been to a Middle Eastern restaurant and had tabbouleh, that's basically what we're making, but we're making it with couscous. Traditional tabbouleh is made with bulgur wheat, which is whole wheat crack, whole wheat, and it's usually parboiled, meaning it's pre-cooked a little bit. That means you can cook it really quickly. To cook bulgur, all you do is you take your bulgur and pour boiling water on it and let it sit there for a little bit until it absorbs all the water. It's super easy, but it is wheat. So, but quinoa makes an awesome tabbouleh. So you could just substitute some quinoa for this.
that's a great suggestion, alternative.
Mhm.
Another great question about bolusing for resistant starches versus regular. I'm
Great.
guess that it's a matter of kind of monitoring your timing and experimenting a little bit to learn about when that resistant starch starts to impact your blood sugar and being careful and mindful of the bolus so that it doesn't get too far ahead of things and cause a low blood sugar. But what are your thoughts, Rita?
Yeah, absolutely. See when it starts to show up. So it might show up in about an hour instead of 20 minutes. Um, so if you're taking your insulin, you think, well, it's really, fast acting insulin. It's pretty strong in about an hour. Um, So you might take your bolus like right before you eat,
Yes.
instead of pre-bolusing, um, or maybe into your meal a little bit. But yeah, it would really depend on your what you notice. And it may not be that noticeable. What you might see is that your blood sugars go up nice and steady. Um, the insulin's there when you need it, and what you might notice is that you just don't get that fast spike. So, very often when we eat certain carbs, seems like almost immediately the boom, blood sugars start going up. Um, but you might find that with a resistance starts, what you see is more of a slow rise over that couple hours of time, and then that the insulin is just there to bring it right back down. So you just have to see. It would depend on your own digestion. It would depend on the quantity that you had at your meal. So lots of factors to consider. But that's an awesome question. Now, so what I cut up here is I have some cucumbers, I have some tomatoes, and I have some scallions. So some simple produce. You could throw other things in here. I've done it with some radishes. It's tasty, jicama, um, and yeah, and some of these, so like scallions, green onions, are some of the most nutritious foods out there, and very very high concentration of healthy phytochemicals and inexpensive, right? Cucumber, if you can use any kind, this happened to be an English cucumber, so you may have seen them in the store where they're often like covered in saran wrap. But the skin is very tender, and so you don't need to skin it. But you can use any old regular cucumber. If it's a regular garden, regular cucumber, I would scoop the seeds out and peel it probably because those cukes generally have wax on the outside. If it's like a Kirby cuke, like a pickling cuke, they don't wax those. So you may keep the skin on that one, but again, I would scoop out the seeds just to make it a little bit nicer to eat. So here's my cooked couscous. And so that half a cup makes almost 2 cups of couscous. So it expands quite a bit. And what's cool about couscous too is you can refrigerate this for about 5 days if you didn't use it right away, and it stays fine. And but you can freeze it too. So if you had some extra and you just wanted to stick it in the freezer for use later, it works real well. Or to cook it in advance or something. App. So I'm gonna throw in all my veggies, and then comes the main ingredient, the star of the show. Does anybody know what the main ingredient is in tabbouleh? If you've had it, you probably know. Why you don't have it on a first date with somebody? It's parsley. There's tons of parsley in tabbouleh. It is definitely the star of the show. And so parsley is actually very nutritious. It's an herb, a simple herb. You can find it in any grocery store. You could use flat leaf, which is this kind. You can use curly, and very, very nutritious. This is a leafy green, and there's phytochemicals, anti-inflammatory, anti-cancer, antibacterial properties. And there's tons of research on just parsley. It's really quite remarkable how healthy it is. It's not just a garnish. And I love to use it. So what I like to keep it in in a jar or something like that in water on my countertop, so I remember to use it. I don't know how many of you buy herbs and stick them in the fridge and then forget they're there, and they turn into a science experiment. So I had washed this earlier and spun it dry in my salad spinner. And then I stored it on the counter in that mason jar. And I'm going to save some of this because some of this is going in the potato salad recipe. But most of it's going in this bowl over here. So there's a trick with parsley, because you don't want to put in the big stems. Really, that's just it's not much fun to eat. So if you take your bunch of parsley and hold it by the stem end, And you take your knife, you get coordinated up here. You take your knife and just run it along the bunch of the parsley, and you get off most of the leaves. So you don't have to sit there picking off each individual leaf. That's, unless you want to. Of course, that can be fun too. And so you just get most of the leaves off, and that's it.
I,
And then,
I love all these little tricks that we learned. These, as you talk us through preparing the recipes, it's very, very fun to learn all these little tricks.
wow,
Um,
too.
a
Yeah.
great question from one of the viewers. She says that she grows her own herbs. How much in cups would you estimate is in the bunch of parsley there that you use?
Well, loose, it's probably about 3 cups, pretty packed into a cup. Probably about 3 cups would be my guess in a whole bunch, depending on the size of the bunch. But it's going to turn into a lot less in a minute.
And so if you were, let's imagine you were out picking parsley out of your garden, how much would you shoot to grab for a recipe like this?
Like a big handful like that.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh, I made a heart. Um, but I don't know. A good size amount. Yeah. I know that's very vague. But if you can picture the size of a bunch of parsley, so maybe the stems are maybe about 2 inches, an inch and a half in diameter of all the stems packed together. I, yeah.
Great.
And then play with the amount. If you want less, if you have all that parsley is kind of annoying, that's okay. You don't have to put quite so much in. So I'm just rocking my knife back and forth here to chop the parsley. There's lots of gadgets for chopping herbs that you might have in your kitchen. There's like I don't have one, but it's like a little thing. You put the stuff in there and the blade goes up and down. I don't know if I put this in a food processor because when you could just pulse it a little bit, but you don't want to blend it into a puree. But it's a fun to use for night fields here and develop those. So all I did was I'm just wrapping this, holding the edge of the knife down here so it stays steady, and we're just rocking back and forth. That's it. Anybody have a favorite way to chop herbs like this? You have your own secrets. Yeah, one of the cool things about cooking classes is I get to learn the secrets that other people have. And it's really fun to share because everybody has different ways of doing things. And you can learn really cool stuff, right? So there's the parsley going in the bowl. And also what goes in here is mint. And that's optional, but it does add a really nice flavor to it. And just so happens I was going to get mint from my sister's garden and I forgot. So I don't have mint, but I have basil. And basil is actually in the mint family. They're related. They have very different flavors, but they are related. And I'm going to put some basil in this. So it's going to taste really nice. And just going to be just a slightly different flavor. And I'm not going to put as much basil as I did parsley. Probably about that much, I think. And so yeah, so you can shake it up. You know if a plant is in the mint family is if you feel the stem and it's kind of squarish, like an herb that's in the mint family. That's how you know. Yeah. So a little basil in there, and then we'll make our dressing. You can also throw, feta on top of this if you'd like. But it's pretty simple, pretty basic salad. I'm just gonna cut the basil. What I did is I rolled the leaves up and kind of reversed into into some strips and I do the same thing. Basil's a little fragile. You don't want to beat up on it too much because it'll get blackened pretty easily. So I'm not going to chop it quite as fine as the parsley. So that goes in there. And then we're going to make a dressing. We'll just stir it up first. And oh my gosh, the aromas are so delicious. Smells so good. So I'm wondering, does this look familiar to anybody? This look like a tabbouleh or a summer salad that you might have tried somewhere?
I have to admit that I'm in general not a very adventurous eater, and I think maybe it's my Midwest palate. I am not one to dive into a lot of different things mixed together, but what I do
Mhm.
love about what I see is that it looks so colorful, and yeah, it's just a nice, beautiful look to it.
It is beautiful. Yes. Yeah. When we talk about eating, I mean, we all have different things that appeal to us for sure. Um, but one of the things that I think helps us feel satisfied at the end of the meal is that there are appealing colors. Whatever's appealing to you, there's appealing colors or appealing aromas, there are appealing flavors. And your brain kind of like assesses that when you're having a meal. And if they're all there, you tend to be more satisfied at the end of the meal. If all those things are happy. So, um, so my dressing is simple. It's just a lemon vinaigrette. Okay. So gonna chop up my clove of garlic, lemon juice, olive oil, salt. That's it. And you can dress the salad and store it dressed. There's not really nothing gets weird. Um, the tomatoes, everything holds up pretty well for a few days. But if you were, but you might even, if like say you were making this for dinner or you bringing it to somebody's house or something, you might even wait to the last minute to dress it because that's when the flavors will be stronger and they just get a little muted as they sit. The pasta absorbs the flavors and things get a little duller. So I always make extra dressing for the salad because I might want to refresh it and add a little more flavor. So that's fun just to have extra dressing hanging around. You can use it lots of different ways. Lemon juice. And you do about 1 to 2 parts, so 1 part lemon juice and about 2 parts olive oil. Or if you like it really lemony, do 1 part lemon juice, 1 part olive oil. So again, like if I'm doing 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, I'm doing 3 or 4 tablespoons of olive oil. Or you can do 1 to 1. Or you can just look at it. So I'm going to put in the olive oil till it looks like it's a little less than double the lemon juice. And they know about what I like, as far as acidity, and throw in my garlic and some salt. Mason jars are wonderful to have of different sizes and shapes because you can make your dressing right in there and then you shake it up. Yeah, that's it.
Well, what a easy way to put that together.
Yeah. And then when you're ready to go, just pour your dressing however much you want. You might start with a little bit and then taste it and see where it is. Wow, and then
And another great question in the chat. You mentioned substituting quinoa for the couscous, and the question is about um, storing all of that in the fridge. Would the quinoa change or lose texture or anything like that sooner than the couscous?
great question. I think quinoa actually stays better and longer. But to be honest, yeah, I love quinoa as a chilled grain. It 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 stays moist really like the whole time that you refrigerate it. And it's great as a chilled grain, really great. And you can freeze that too. Cooked quinoa stuff. Yeah, give it a try. I really like it a lot. Good question. And quinoa has a very high amount of protein in it. It's a complete protein, so it's got all the amino acids and it's got a healthy fats and fiber. So the impact on your blood sugar, because of all that balance of all those other nutrients, is again like slower and not. It doesn't hit your blood sugars as high as maybe some grains, because quinoa is not actually a true grain, um, and it doesn't hit you as hard. So, all right, I'm gonna set this aside and that back there, and then let's talk about our potato salad. And this is super easy. Um, and I pre-cooked my potatoes because, again, I wanted to chill them and have them nice and cold for the salad. But let's talk about cooking the potatoes. So I cut these are you can cut any kind of potato, but I like a waxy potato instead of like a russet potato because the texture is nicer for potato salad, I think. So these are Yukon Gold or red skin potatoes or yellow potato. Um, and you can also use canned potatoes for this salad. They're great. Just open up a can, rinse them off, and cut them up. They're already cooked. And so you want to cut them kind of about the same size and really watch the cooking time. Because when you're going to bring them to a boil, what I like to do is put them in a pot, cover them with cold water, throw in some salt, flavor them a little bit, and then bring it to a boil and I watch it. And it cooks, this size cooks in about, I'd say about 7 or 8 minutes. So for this salad, what I did is I um at about 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes, I pulled one out and I stuck a fork in it. And there was a little bit of resistance. Like you could tell there's a little bit of rawness to the potato. And then what I did is I threw in the green beans at that time in the same pot. And yet we just add them slowly so you don't take the boil away. You don't want to just totally, neutralize the temperature in the pot. So add them slowly so it stays boiling, or at least a good strong simmer. And then you're just gonna blanch these guys for another 2 or 3 minutes. And then the texture comes out really well. So the green beans are a little bit crunchy, al dente, and so are the potatoes. They've just got still got a little bit of resistance when you bite on them. Otherwise, they turn mushy. That's the trickiest part, I think, with potato salad. I don't know. Does anybody have a trick? It's always been my challenge for potato salad is not overcooking the darn potatoes, or undercooking them, because that's not any fun. So there we go. So we've got potatoes and green beans. And again, the same principle applies with this. Is those potatoes are chilled and they form resistant starch, and then they're just going to be a slower rise in your blood sugar. And, you combine this with a meal with some protein in it, maybe some more veggies, and you got a pretty low glycemic or a slower, lighter impact on your blood sugars. So there's the potatoes, and we're going to do similar ingredients here. We've got green onions again. We've got some black olives and kind of these green onions.
We've got a tip, a trick in the chat about the
Thanks.
potatoes, and the trick is to keep, okay, just a question more so than a tip. But is it okay to continue just testing and tasting the potatoes until you like the texture? That
Correct.
one, yeah.
Yeah, of course, definitely. And then drain them and then pour cold water on top of them. Because you want to stop, because they'll continue to cook if they're hot. So you want to cool them off, rinse them real well with cold water, and then pop them in the fridge. Drain them. Like you saw me. I drained the beans and the potatoes in the colander, and then I stuck the colander on a bowl, and I stuck the whole thing in the fridge. So yeah, you can just keep testing it until it's the way you like it, for sure. And potatoes too. If you boil them, just that alone reduces the glycemic impact of a potato. Yeah, and it reduces the how fast and how high your blood sugars might go. Just what's the way the starch changes when you boil it versus if you bake or roast it. So it can be a good way to cut those size. Real really less impact. So my nutritious, inexpensive green onions, and you can use any kind of onion on here. You could use red onion, white onion, whatever you have on hand. If you don't like onion, you can leave it out. Um, but I think it adds a nice flavor. It adds another layer of nutrition. Wow, that was a strong one. Woo. Usually green onions don't bother my eyes, but that was yeah. Um, yeah, and if the onions burn your eyes, I mentioned this in another class, that means they're really nutritious. They've got more of those really good phytochemicals that are helping to protect your health. So if you can stand the burn here, they're better for you. And so we're gonna do some more parsley. And again, lovely herb, easy to find in the grocery store at any time of the year. Any kind of parsley is fine, and very nutritious. Like I said, I was looking up research articles earlier this week, and really some amazing research on parsley. Like people trying it like with against allergies to see if it helps to tone down that allergy response, that histamine response, different kinds of cancers, um, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant. So health protective properties of these simple foods. And parsley also has a phytochemical called quercetin, which is the one that they think is responsible for a lot of parsley's health benefits. And quercetin you find in a lot of foods, but there's particularly concentrated in dark greens and herbs. It's found in onions and apples and berries, very good sources. It's very concentrated in okra. If you like okra. Anybody like okra out there? So yeah, it's in a lot of plants. It's just that more concentrated in some of those. And it's also found in our next ingredient, which is a little bit unusual. It's found in capers. Does anybody use capers when they cook?
Here's where I'm going to admit I don't even know what a caper is, Rita.
Yeah. I love capers. So capers, here's a jar, and they're pickled. They're pickled flower buds. Not strange. Like who decided to eat a flower bud and to pickle it? But it's native to the countries around the Mediterranean. It likes hot and dry climates, so it grows in certain areas in Italy, Spain, the Middle East, and it's used in the cuisines there a lot. So it's just the flower bud that they pick, and then they pickle it. And the flower is really pretty. In Arizona, I'll see it in some of the lower elevations where it's hot, and it's beautiful flower. If you live somewhere, I don't know if it might grow in Florida, and it's this beautiful white flower, and then there's all these purple like stamens coming out of the middle of it. It's gorgeous. So if you live somewhere nice and warm, you could probably grow capers. And capers are actually a really good source of quercetin. And strangely enough, they're super nutritious that way. So we're going to put in some capers and some black olives. Any kind will do. These happen to be just black column lettuce. We could use canned. Oh, these are pits in them. I thought I got the de-pitted ones. So I'm going to have to pit these. But you could buy canned sliced black olives. You could put green olives in there if you'd like. And, or canola olives, you could leave it out, but they do add a nice flavor, nice little saltiness, little zest. along with the capers. And olives, also nutritious, good source of really, healthy oils, right? Olive oil. So good fiber. And the dressing for this is just a red wine vinegar dressing. So it's red wine vinegar, it's olive oil, salt, pepper, and a little bit of mustard. So instead of a mayonnaise based dressing, so a little bit healthier with the olive oil. And let's see what else. Back to resistant starch. It's also a very good thing for your digestive tract. So we have microbiome. We have bacteria that live in our digestive tract, in our lower gut, in our large intestine, and they love resistant starch. So the bacteria that are healthy, that help to keep our digestive tract strong and keep the not so good bacteria in check, really love resistant starch. So it's a really good food for your healthy bacteria. All right. So I'm going to add up my olives and make my dressing. And that's it. Super easy recipes for today. Not too complicated. I've got another handy dandy little mason jar here with some red wine vinegar. But got the same amount of olive oil, maybe a little bit more in there. Just sort of eyeballing it. And I'm going to have extra for sure, which is great because I use it for salads and other things. I'm going to throw in a little bit of salt, some black pepper, and a little Dijon mustard to add flavor and to keep that oil and the vinegar combined. And that's that. Apple over here. Yeah, that's it. That's
Rita,
two.
we've got a great question
Please, yeah.
in. One, she said she grows okra, which is pretty cool. And I have to chuckle. This is a silly little story about okra, but I remember playing a fair amount of basketball. And I remember years ago, one of the guys at the YMCA at basketball, when he learned that I had diabetes, he told me if I would just eat more okra, my diabetes would go away. So it always, and I mean, we all know that's not true. But it always makes me chuckle and think about the time I hear anyone talking about okra.
Right.
Um,
If it were only that easy, right?
okra, easy, yeah. I eat okra all the time.
All day. Yeah.
Um, the question is, does the benefit of parsley change if you were to cook it or any of the vegetables? Do they lose or decrease any nutritional benefit as they're
Yeah, great question. There's a change, and so sometimes cooking will improve the absorption of some of those, the digestion and absorption of some of those really important nutrients. And sometimes it decreases it. So I think if you think about your feeding pattern and have a mixture of things, have some things that are uncooked, have some things that are cooked. And, in the fruit and vegetable world, have lots of color. Um, that way you're kind of getting a really good balance of things. And yeah, I don't remember specifically which things that are absorbed when cooked. My mind does not hold on to that. But yeah, I would say just eat variety, eat raw, eat cooked, and lots of color is a really good recipe for a good healthy diet.
yeah, another comment about cooking can sometimes change the carbohydrate values or change carbohydrate absorption. Do you share thoughts on that?
Yeah, yeah. So in the case of like your starches, so when you're cooking your starches and then like boiling potatoes, you're actually losing a little bit of starch in the water. So, but it does not make a big difference in the carb content, really. And what it does is it changes the starch. So if when you cook it, it's easier to digest and it affects your blood sugars a little bit faster. And that's just the nature of cooking starch. And but again, if you chill it and then either chill it and reheat it or just eat it cold, then that's where it carbohydrate content doesn't change, but just the rate at which you digest it does. And in general, if we see a little bit slower digestion, then you get a better chance at keeping those after meal blood sugars in a good range. As long as, it's harder, as you know, when you eat something, you get that darn spike, like right away. Those are a little harder to manage, right?
Yeah. She mentioned she was talking about the green veggies,
Oh, green
uh,
veggies.
more
Yeah,
sort of the starchy ones, and also she loves the colors in the potato salad.
it's
Looks
pretty,
beautiful.
isn't it? Yeah, and again, more beautiful aromas. And this stays really well too in the fridge. And good 4 or 5 days for sure. And again, if you have extra dressing, you can always add more. Because as it chills and sits there, it's not going to taste as vibrant. Green veggies, yeah, carb content doesn't really affect that much, and because we know that the green veggies are pretty low in carbs anyway, and a lot of that carbohydrate is in the form of fiber. So fiber is a carbohydrate. It's just a carbohydrate that we don't digest. Our human digestive enzymes can't break that apart. So it will often make vegetables more digestible, especially, if you've got a digestive system that doesn't like to eat a lot of raw veggies, you might get a lot of gas or bloating or, uncomfortable symptoms with raw. And if you're okay with cooked, that's great because they're just easier to digest, but it doesn't change the carb content for any, you know, reasonable amount. Yeah. Other questions?
Cool. That's all we've got in the chat so far. But folks, if you have more questions or anything you want Rita to talk about, let me know and I will certainly pass that along. Um, maybe in the meantime, Rita, are we at a point where we want to vote or do you still have
Oh,
more?
sure. It's the perfect time. Yeah, let's do it.
Great. All right. So, um, one of the benefits of you all joining the live broadcast versus watching the replay is that you get to play an active part in this and you get to vote on the recipes for the next month. So I just hit some of the magic buttons here. You should see a poll up on your screen. It may depend a little bit on how you're joining or if you're watching from your mobile device, that kind of thing. But um, we are looking at 3 different options next month. Option 1 is a couple of alternatives to beef burgers, those being an easy salmon burger with lemony sauce, and then a veggie burger with mushrooms and walnuts and brown rice. Option 2 is an Asian-style smashed cucumber salad, and then option 3 is coconut milk curry with chicken or tofu and mixed vegetables. They all sound delicious. These are some really, really tough choices.
That's good. Yeah, the smashed cucumber and then the curry they go really well together. And it's definitely season for cucumbers. If you guys have a garden or you know somebody or cucumbers just show up on your front doorstep, it's a really good recipe for that. And yeah, and the burgers are great too. Nice option if you wanted to try out something other than beef burgers.
Yeah, we've got we've got we had this last time too where we had a pretty close run on the voting. And right now it is split exactly even right on the middle of all 3. So maybe that maybe that means we need to have like in September we'll do 3 cooking classes
Oh,
and do all the recipes. But
yeah. Yeah, and with the cucumber and the curry, we're gonna do those together.
oh, okay,
Mm.
great. Let's mix that easy then. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, so we'll do either the burgers or the cucumbers and curry. So if you like the yeah, so then maybe that'll help
Yeah,
somebody.
that doubles the voting power of what
Devil's
we
the
see in the poll here. So, um,
yeah.
that is looking like the winner, but not by a whole lot. There's still some burger alternative fans out there. So we'll keep that in the running.
And keep that in the running, absolutely. It'll still
Are
be grueling time for a while now.
Yeah, and with that, we've got requests to provide, if possible, alternatives for soy and coconut in the recipes. Okay.
Yeah,
Allergies and restrictions. So,
yeah, the coconut, yeah, it's the coconut milk base to the curry, but I'll work on that. We'll have an option. Yep,
good.
and the soy, you don't have to use tofu. You can use any kind of protein. So, but yeah, that's great point.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you
Yeah.
for sharing that. And
Yep.
um, yeah, well, Rita, I would say this was another terrific and delicious class. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, thank you, and thank you everybody for attending. It's so much fun. We're so glad that
Yeah. And, again, as Rita said, we just really appreciate you attending and sharing your time with us today, learning more about nutrition and food. It's always such an important part of living well with diabetes. You should be proud of yourself for being here. We certainly are. Stay tuned for future events like this. We've got the monthly group sessions in both English and Spanish. The English sessions happen Thursday and Friday of this week, so keep an eye out for those details. And then Carrie is coming back on August 12th for a mid year check in on realistic goal setting. Um, and we do have parts one and two of that on our YouTube channel if you want to look at those beforehand. And then the Spanish group session is happening on Thursday, August 14th. So be sure to check out our website events page for more information and to register. And that can be found at bluecirclehealth.org/events. And then finally, please do share your feedback. So, depending on how you joined, you may see a survey pop up once you close out of here or in the follow up email. We'd love to know if this was helpful, what other topics you'd like us to cover, what other recipes that you'd like. And one of the things that we're really curious about as well is about the length of these cooking classes. I know that we've been kind of shooting for about an hour. Does that work okay for you? Would you like them longer? Do you want them shorter? Let us know what sounds best for you. Um, and yes, I will definitely. There's a question about getting the SMART goals worksheet. I'll be sure to put that link um, in the Zoom registration for that upcoming class with Carrie on the goals and mid-year check-in. So at this point, for anyone here today who may not be familiar with Blue Circle Health, I'm going to share a quick, 5-ish minute overview and then stick around to answer questions. We'll let Rita drop off. And for any of you who are already familiar, you can also drop off anytime you like. Rita, thank you again so much for your time and expertise today. We
all right.
really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, we'll see you guys.
Thank you. All right, so we'll do just a quick run through of this information. Please let me know if you have any questions along the way, and I'll stick it through the end to hang out and answer any questions that you have. So, Blue Circle Health offers free add on clinical care, education, and support for people with type 1 diabetes. We're a nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit organization funded by the Helmsley Charitable Trust that we work alongside diabetes care teams to support people with type 1 diabetes and extend the care that they already receive. As you can see here, our mission is to learn the best ways to care for people living with type 1 diabetes uh, and apply those learnings to care for as many as possible, and also share our learnings to improve type 1 diabetes care everywhere. So, what exactly does that mean? We offer a free, flexible program to extend care between visits. Our program is up to 6 months long. It's done entirely virtually over Zoom, text, and phone. It offers as much or as little support as requested. So you can take advantage of every service we offer or just pick the ones that you need. And I'll go more into that in just a second. You stay connected to your medical homes. So if you have a existing endocrinologist or care provider professional, we'll send them regular updates along the way. And then our services are free regardless of insurance and immigration status. And re enrollment is possible 1 year from your original enrollment date. Now, the graphic on the right of this screen here shows the available services, and I'll describe them in more detail going counterclockwise and starting with clinical care. So, clinical care is exactly what it sounds like. It's visits with an endocrinologist or an advanced nurse practitioner. Then we have insurance navigation, which is consultation with insurance specialists who can help you understand and maximize any insurance coverage you may have, help you find and understand what insurance options and coverage is available for you, and then also help with prior authorizations. Then we have diabetes supportive counseling, which offers help with the emotional burden of type 1 diabetes. We have case management, so our case managers can help if you're struggling with maybe food or housing or employment insecurities. Peer support and community. So, in addition to monthly group sessions, you'll have a dedicated T1D support guide to work with who will help you sort of navigate all of the other services and be there for you if you just need someone to talk to and talk with. And then we also have ongoing community events, much like this, and then connections to other great organizations in type 1 diabetes. Education and nutrition. So that is visits with registered dietitians and certified diabetes care and education specialists. There are two additional programs available within the Blue Circle Health program. The first is Prescription Assistance Program for qualified applicants who need help paying for their supplies and medications. The qualification for that is an income level at or below 300% of the federal poverty level. And then we have Intro to CGM, which provides 3 months of free education and access to a CGM for those who have not had reliable access to one before. So when it comes to eligibility requirements, there are as follows. You have to have a diagnosis of type 1 diabetes. And note here, this is not just for the newly diagnosed. We're here for you anywhere along your T1D journey. And yes, this does also include LADA. You have to be age 18 or older, speaking English or Spanish. You have to have an ability to connect and participate in virtual care. So that means access to a smartphone or computer for Zoom video calls. You must have a primary care provider or endocrinologist, or be willing to be connected to one. No current pregnancy. And then you have to reside in one of the states we're available in. Today, that is Alabama, Delaware, Florida, Iowa, Louisiana, Maine, Mississippi, Missouri, New Hampshire, Ohio, or Vermont. And the list of states is growing. So check our website and follow us on social media for the latest update on what states are available. And especially if you're watching this recording after the fact. Again, here's just a visual representation of the states that we're available in today. We're grateful to have had the opportunity to help over 750 people with type 1 diabetes since January of 2024. I'm going to play a short video from a few of the people who have gone through the program. It's just over a minute long. And while that's playing, go ahead and share any questions that you might have in the chat, and I'm happy to stick around and answer them.
I was looking up and my blood sugars at 400, 600 every day. That to me, waking up dizzy, tired was normal. My day consisted of working with my carbs all day long. I didn't have a life. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. I knew nothing about the pump.
And even with the knowledge I have as a nurse, I still didn't have the knowledge to control my diabetes.
I didn't have the right tools or the right education, even though I've been diabetic my whole life.
It just became so common to me to keep getting sick all the time, all the time. And the ambulance people already knew me. I knew the crew that was gonna pick me up. It's scary.
And then Blue Circle showed up.
The confidence I have today. I feel like a new person. I feel happier. I feel safer. I'm just glad I grasped the control in time.
My journey with you guys has been amazing. I feel like I have my life back. I don't know where I would be on that. Oh, I am so very lucky, but I'm so grateful for your program. It's amazing. Absolutely.
When you change somebody's life in the way they have changed mine, and after a lot I've been through with diabetes, it's priceless.
All right. Thanks for your attention in watching that. If you have more questions or would like to learn more, certainly head over to our website at bluecirclehealth.org. To learn more, you can reach out and let us know you have questions and get back to you and talk you through any questions that you have. Again, also check out the website for more information on upcoming events just like this. And you'll see the events page right in the website navigation. You can also go to bluecirclehealth.org /events. And with that, I thank you again for attending. We really appreciate it. And I hope you'll come back again for another one.